The shrill sound of laughter cut through the humid afternoon air as my 8-year-old son, Ethan, pedaled his bike down our quiet cul-de-sac. The rhythmic squeak of his training wheels, the crunch of tires on sun-baked asphalt, and the joyous shout of freedom blended into the kind of summer soundtrack every parent loves to hear. I stood by the porch, sipping an iced tea, the condensation dripping onto my hand, and for a moment life felt perfect. But then came her, Kerren, our neighborhood self-appointed enforcer, the president of the HOA, and the reason half the neighbors avoided eye contact whenever they walked their dogs. Her perfume, a choking cloud of roses and powder, always announced her before her voice did. And today, her heels clicked like gunshots against the sidewalk as she stormed toward Ethan. "What do you think you're doing?" she screeched, her words slicing through the peace. Ethan stopped, confused, his smile faltering. "Just riding my bike." Kerren's face twisted, her lipstick smudged into a scowl. "Not on my street, you're not. HOA rules clearly state no bicycles on the sidewalk. Do you even pay attention to community guidelines? Or are you raising him to be a rule breaker like his father?" My chest tightened. My late husband's name still echoed in every corner of our home, and the venom in her tone turned grief into anger. I started walking toward them, but before I could reach Ethan, Kerren did something I'll never forgive. She shoved him. It wasn't a gentle nudge. She pushed his small shoulders with the kind of force meant to make a point. Ethan's bike wobbled, his little arms flailing, and he crashed onto the hot pavement, his knees scraping open. His cry pierced the air, high and raw, sending every nerve in my body into overdrive. I sprinted, dropping the glass in my hand. It shattered behind me, but I didn't care. I knelt beside Ethan, scooping him into my arms as blood trickled down his leg. He clung to me, trembling, his breath shallow and panicked. "You assaulted my son," I hissed, my voice trembling with fury. Kerren's expression didn't falter. She crossed her arms, chin tilted in smug defiance. He was breaking the rules. Maybe this will teach him a lesson. A crowd was beginning to gather. Curtains shifted. Neighbors paused mid-lawn mow, mid-dog walk, pretending not to stare. But no one intervened. That was the power Kerren had. She ruled with threats of fines, petty punishments, and social exclusion. I wanted to scream, to lunge at her, to make her feel even half the pain she'd caused Ethan. But Ethan's sobs in my arms reminded me of something more important. If I lost control now, she'd twist it against me. She'd make me the villain. So I said nothing. I simply carried my son inside, slammed the door, and held him until his tears quieted into hiccups. But inside, something ignited. Kerren had crossed a line, and I wasn't going to let it go. The next morning, I marched to the HOA office, Ethan's scraped knee freshly bandaged but still swollen. The smell of stale coffee and printer ink hit me as I pushed open the door. Behind the desk sat Kerren, tapping her long nails against a stack of papers, her expression smug as ever. I placed a photo on the desk, the picture I'd taken of Ethan's injury the night before. "You assaulted my child. I want an apology, and I want you reported to the board." Kerren barely glanced at it. Rules are rules. Sidewalks are for walking, not for reckless children. If you can't control your son, maybe this community isn't the right fit for you. I clenched my fists. He's 8. He was riding his bike in front of our house. You put your hands on him. She leaned forward, lowering her voice so the secretary behind her couldn't hear. And who do you think they'll believe? The HOA president, who has kept this community perfect for 10 years. Or the single mom who constantly pays her dues late and lets her yard grow like a jungle. Heat flooded my face. She wasn't just mocking me. She was daring me. That night, I vented to my friend Lisa over the phone. Lisa, who lived 2 streets down, had her own Kerren stories, harassment letters for leaving trash cans out too long, fines for wind chimes that didn't match the aesthetic. But when I told her what Kerren did to Ethan, Lisa's sharp intake of breath was all I needed to hear. "You need to hit her where it hurts," Lisa said. Her power, her reputation. Still, I hesitated. What if Kerren turned the neighborhood against me? What if I made things worse for Ethan? But then, 2 days later, I overheard her. Kerren was at the community pool, barking orders at the lifeguards, her voice carrying across the water. She laughed loudly, bragging about how she taught that brat a lesson and how the mother won't do a thing about it. Her audience chuckled nervously, but I saw the unease in their eyes. That's when I realized people weren't loyal to Kerren. They were afraid of her, and fear could be turned. I started small. I created a private group chat with Lisa and a handful of neighbors I trusted. At first, people were hesitant. No one wanted to be on Kerren's bad side. But when I shared the photo of Ethan's scraped knee and explained what she did, the chat exploded with outrage. Stories poured in. Fines for Christmas decorations, threats for kids playing too loudly, harassment over paint colors. Kerren wasn't a leader. She was a tyrant. My plan formed quickly. Step 1, gather evidence. I began recording Kerren whenever she launched into one of her tirades. She was careless, yelling at delivery drivers, berating a teenager for skateboarding, even threatening to report a neighbor for grilling too close to the curb. Each clip was another nail in her coffin. Step 2, expose her hypocrisy. Kerren had a secret, the HOA funds. She bragged once at a block party after too many glasses of wine about how she saved money by handling landscaping contract herself. With Lisa's help, we dug into the numbers. The invoices didn't add up. Thousands of dollars were unaccounted for. Step 3, the stage. We planned the next HOA meeting, where Kerren always paraded her authority in front of the community. This time, though, it would be her undoing. The night of the meeting, I dressed in calm neutrals, steadying my breathing as I held Ethan's hand. His knee had healed into a faint scar, a reminder why I couldn't back down. The community room buzzed with quiet chatter, neighbors avoiding Kerren's gaze as she strutted in, heels clacking, binder in hand. She launched into her usual speech about order and property values, her tone dripping with superiority. But when she opened the floor for concerns, I stood. My voice was clear. I'd like to address what happened last week when Kerren assaulted my 8-year-old son. Gasps rippled across the room. Kerren's face blanched, then flushed crimson. That's a lie. I would never. I clicked play on my phone. The audio filled the room. Kerren at the pool, laughing about teaching my son a lesson. Her jaw dropped. But I wasn't done. I displayed the financial records Lisa and I uncovered, showing discrepancies, invoices, and missing funds. Murmurs spread like wildfire. Neighbors whispered, eyes wide with betrayal. Kerren's composure cracked. She stammered, raised her voice, but the more she yelled, the guiltier she looked. And then I delivered the final blow. I showed the video of her berating a delivery driver, calling him names that made the room fall silent. Ugly, racist, undeniable. Kerren wasn't just cruel. She was toxic. The room erupted. Neighbors who had once been silent found their voices, shouting over one another. Some demanded her resignation. Others called for a full audit. Kerren's desperate pleas were drowned out by a wave of angry years in the making. "You can't do this," she shrieked, her voice cracking. "I am the HOA." "No," I said calmly, my voice carrying over chaos. "You were." The vote was unanimous. Effective immediately. Kerren was removed from her position. A formal investigation into the missing funds was launched, and security was called when she refused to leave the building. Watching her being escorted out, her perfect hair frizz, her makeup streaking, was the most satisfying moment of my life. But karma wasn't finished. The videos went viral. Lisa posted them to a local community forum, and from there, they spread. Within days, Kerren became the town's most infamous figure. Clips of her tirades were remixed into memes, TikToks, even a parody song on YouTube. Everywhere she went, whispers followed. Parents pulled their kids away from her in the grocery store. Businesses refused her service. She was broken, not physically, but in the one way that mattered to her. Publicly, irreversibly humiliated. As for Ethan, he got something Kerren could never take away: freedom. He rode his bike every afternoon, his laughter once again filling the street. The neighbors, freed from Kerren's reign, started waving, chatting, even organizing block parties again. One evening, as Ethan pedaled circles around me, he asked, "Mom, did we beat her?" I smiled. We didn't have to beat her. She beat herself. And with that, I finally felt peace.